Cha-cha.
Well, guys, Uncle Dan, Uncle Doug.
Hello. Yes.
It turns out that we were all three out of town just recently, but not together.
Yeah.
Well, two of us were together.
2/3 of the triumvirate were together.
You were.
Yeah, that's right.
You bailed.
We're uncles abroad in the land, and I understand that you guys went. You took a road trip to a theatrical extravaganza.
That's right.
And behold, we did go unto the wilderness, and did see for ourselves that the people were there.
Yes.
Yes.
And lo, the community theater was long.
And but nevertheless boring.
Yeah, we suffer for your sins, dear listeners.
Oh my God!
We just recovered from the fucking Ark encounter.
Exactly.
I know.
Yeah.
Uncle Dan.
Tell us where you went, fellas.
Yeah, Uncle Dan and I went down to Manti, Utah, which is a town about 2 hours and 15 minutes south of Salt Lake City,
Yeah.
for what is called the Mormon Miracle Pageant, or the Manti Pageant.
Yeah.
It's a nice little town.
Yeah, it is a nice little town.
And I'll tell you what, the drive down is gorgeous.
It is.
So there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of complaining about that.
And the company was wonderful.
Thank you.
We've had unseasonable rain here in Utah the past few months, so things were greener than they normally would be.
It's true.
And so Manti, just little background, is a town that was founded by Mormons in 1849.
Okay.
Right after they got settled in Salt Lake.
48. They come to Salt Lake.
Yeah,
47.
47. Right.
Yeah.
They come to Salt Lake, and then they start sending out explorer ships.
Yep.
To
Settling
satellite communities.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And basically anywhere there was water, they wanted to be in control of it, which makes sense.
Right. There wasn't much.
There wasn't much. And what happened with Manti was a Ute chief named Wilkara invited Mormons into his country.
That's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea to teach them some agriculture. Yeah, don't invite Mormons into your...
White people in general, if you are a tribe occupying an area of the Americas... Of the world, and white people come and say, hey, how do you do your farming? Don't tell them. Don't tell them.
Don't help them.
For the love of God.
Right.
So fast forward, however many 150 years from then, and they began doing a pageant in Manti. And a pageant, for those who don't know, is kind of a big community play.
Yeah, well, it can be a number of things. In this case, and this is the case. This is not the first pageant of this kind that I've seen. It's the first Mormon one that I've seen. But in this case, what pageant ends up meaning is an audio playback and a metric fuck ton of dopey idiots in bathrobes walking around in front of you.
Oh, Uncle Mark, you and your aesthetic eye, we would have had to call an ambulance.
Really, honestly.
Well, I've seen video of this, and I think I went when I was a teenager.
Really?
I know I have some memory of it.
Most of which is repressed, blocked out.
There was a lot of self-repression in addition to the community repression that was going on. But it is kind of dizzying in its craptacularness. But it's also largely volunteer, right?
100% volunteer.
Oh yeah.
I think there are some technical people who are paid.
Right.
Maybe the director.
But all the cast is volunteer, right? All the makeup and
when you say all the cast, we're talking almost 1,000 people.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the reason that Dan and I decided to get down there and see it this year, that, by the way, there's also a pageant that Mormons put on in Nauvoo, Illinois, and upstate New York that we were contemplating going to visit, and after having seen one of them, decidedly are against it.
I'm still going without you guys.
Have at
well,
it.
because when you experience an evening of theatrical perfection, why fuck with it, right?
Well,
why?
It's true. It's true. You don't want to mess with perfection. Although
you're never going to duplicate that high.
Yeah.
As a theatrical professional myself, I just feel like I need to feed my own soul that way. So.
Right. You need to fill the coffers.
That's right.
Well, it turns out that the Mormon Church is putting the kibosh on these plays for reasons I don't fully understand. I tried to find it.
They haven't explained it at all. They just said no more.
Yeah.
We're not doing this anymore.
Right. Because what Mormonism needs to be is less fun.
That's right.
So this was the last Manti pageant that would ever be. Yeah. So we decided to get down there and make sure we saw it, like an eclipse or a volcano eruption from up too close.
Right, exactly. So we went down. Now, before we went to the show, we kind of tootled around the town a little bit. Mm-hmm. We discovered that they have an interesting little bazaar set up, which they call the food court.
Yeah.
Consisting of maybe a dozen, different places, most of which are offering something too sweet for any human to actually consume.
Right.
One of the booths wasn't offering any food at all, but rather was a quote Bible museum.
Yeah,
it was literally he was representing his own personal Bible museum that he contained in that apparently lives in Ephraim, Utah. Not too far from Manti.
And it was a big glass case with various and sundry quote unquote artifacts of the Bible. All replicas of pottery and spearheads.
Well, he claimed that the pottery was legit.
Oh, that's right.
But he didn't tell us the provenance of it or how old it's estimated to be. So I'm going to guess that it was from 1830.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if that, yeah.
And so was this guy one of the evangelical kind of anti-Mormons that shows up there?
We weren't sure. We never got to whether or not he was Mormon affiliated, but he was, he wasn't anti-Mormon.
He was just presenting, what he was presenting is the Bible is absolutely, definitely 100% true, and we can prove it.
Provably true through archaeology.
Right.
I don't know why you have to prove it. It says it's true right in it. So that's the fucking issue here.
That's a great point.
Well,
waste of time.
We wanted to look at the stuff, and I think we tried to avoid conflict for a little while.
Well, yes, we did. Both of us.
Yeah.
But so, listen, your uncles are only human, kids. So we went in there. Neither of us were itching for a fight. We didn't want to do anything. We just wanted to see what he had, which consisted of some pots and some stones that he claims are
sling stones
for a slingshot, like David would have slew Goliath with. And then some like replicas of various things with like cuneiform writing on it.
Yeah, worthless stuff. Probably worth a few $100 total.
But he's talking about, as soon as we approached, he's launching into his pitch about how blah, 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 and this is that, and that. This is a replica of a thing that's in the British Museum, and blah, 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 blah. And he kept saying things about the Bible, and both Doug and I, we bit our tongues for so long, and then every now and then something would boil over, and I'd be like, well, yeah, that's not true, though.
Yeah. Or it doesn't. It actually does contradict itself.
Yeah. And then he's like,
it does not.
And at first he assumed that we were believers because everyone he's encountering are Mormons there.
Yeah.
Mind you, he's probably I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he's definitely not Mormon. Actually,
yeah, he didn't have the look.
He's got that sort of evangelical feel to him. But he was used to people like Mormons believe in the Bible, so he was used to those people being mostly on his side about that stuff. And he kept talking about how, skeptical people might have claimed that this might be the case. And he sets up some straw man argument. And then, like, for instance, he said a skeptic might say that Jesus wasn't real. But then, look, all of these prophecies in Isaiah predate Jesus by blah, blah, because they're from 100 BC and blah. And so I was or a skeptic could also say that the Jesus story was just written to
fulfill the prophecy.
Fulfill those prophecies.
Yeah.
And he was like, no.
Cut to him laying wide awake in bed last night, staring at the ceiling.
And he said, "Oh my God, we got to get to this one. We want to get on to the pageant.
Yeah, we got to move on to the pageant.
But he said,
this was just a weird.
He said, well, there's 4 eyewitnesses, and I said they're not eyewitnesses. Right. They wrote years and years later. They never knew him, and he's like, no, they knew him. He's like, here's why they didn't write it down, because Jesus said he was going to come right back, and he didn't. So they didn't write it down until they realized he wasn't coming back.
And then they needed to write it all down.
I don't think that helps.
I know, guys. Here's the thing. We thought what he was saying was true, so he didn't write it down.
Exactly.
Right. But when it turned out he was a damned liar, we were like, shit, we better record this stuff.
Yeah, he went out for a pack of smokes and he never came back.
Exactly. So let's jump ahead. We ended up managed to get kind of a crazy in the perimeter of the play, because Dan claimed I had a gimpy leg and couldn't walk the distance. Gimpy is the word he used.
Yes, I did. We were stopped by security, which was just some rando Mormon, and we were trying to drive up really close to the temple, and they were like, "Sorry, if you don't have a badge, you can't do it." And we were like, "Oh shoot, we were really hoping to see it." And they were like, "Well, you can park down there and you can walk up there." And I was like, "Oh, he has a really gimpy leg, though." And they were like, "Oh, okay, we'll let you in."
Gimpy, which I think in Manti patois means disabled.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yeah.
So we got kind of in the perimeter, and we got up to the top of the set, which is a big hillside, literal hillside with stuff on it. And we
you were not supposed to be in there.
No,
definitely
not.
Yeah.
And we got
fantastic
a view down at the chairs they'd set up, and
which I will post to our Facebook account so that everybody can take a look, and maybe you can tweet it out and stuff.
Astoundingly, like it was bigger, more chairs, more seating than I had. I mean, I knew what we were walking into, and it took my breath away.
Yeah, it's
really amazing.
Yeah, like tens of thousands of chairs.
Yeah,
folding chairs.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
FYI, we did attempt to live tweet this stuff, but I think the single cell phone tower in that town was wildly overwhelmed by the number of people that come for this thing, and we just couldn't make anything work. Yeah. So it will come out. You can see it if you go to our Twitter or our Facebook page now, I assume, because you're listening in the future. So
yes, and it's really funny. The writing on some of those pictures is some of the best ever.
Yes.
So we went back to our campsite, had dinner, and then jumped on a couple bikes to ride back into the pageant. And we found seats, surprisingly good seats. Uncle Dan found.
Yeah.
And then we started interacting with the actors in the show.
Oh, where did you get bikes? Did you take bikes?
Yeah, we took bikes with us.
Oh, okay,
we stole them. Anyway,
that's why I was hoping you stole them.
Anyway, we stole them from the wildly overpriced campground that we stayed at. Anyway, these cast members are in their full costume and in many cases crazy amounts of makeup.
Yeah.
Right.
And they are wandering the aisles between all of these folding metal chairs, talking to people.
Yeah, chatting people up.
And of course, we wanted to take photos of them, so we would stop them and be like, "We need a photo of you. You look stupid." and then they would stop and talk to us.
Yeah, and this one trio, these two young girls and this young guy, stopped.
Sort of high school, college, like early college, late high school age.
Yeah, and we chatted with them for a good 10 minutes.
Oh, and they were sweet.
They're sweet as hell.
Mormon kids are so damn sweet.
And we're like, we asked about their roles and what their characters' names were, and are you guys, around here? A great conversation.
And they're volunteering stuff. They're so excited. They're just bubbling over. They're like, "This is my third time in the pageant. And I come from Ephraim, and I come from wherever, Manti, and blah, blah, blah."
And then we're like, "Well, you guys get out there, break a leg." And she's like, "Well," one of the girls, whose name was, I won't mention it, I just realized that would be a really dumb thing to do.
To dox a high school girl? Yeah, probably.
She said, "Can I bear my testimony?"
Don't do that.
She goes, "Can I bear my testimony to you guys?"
She said, "Can I leave you with my testimony?" Yeah. Oh, and kids, those of you who aren't Mormon don't know that is code for
testify.
I am going to say Jesus at you.
Yeah.
And Doug was like,
right.
It's funny because I had this moment where I was like, it would be kind of fun for me to really destroy her right before she has to go on and do a show.
Say no.
Just be like, no.
Say no. I don't want to hear
this is not real. And or let her bear her testimony and just be like, everything you just said is false.
Oh, poor girl. And she gave us, like, how Mormons are. She's like, "I know everything you're about to witness."
Boilerplate testimony.
Yeah. Everything you're about to see in this play truly happened. This is 100% true.
Oh, my God.
Jesus is, blah, 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 blah. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. We're like,
yikes.
Break a leg. Good luck.
Yep. So off they
Go
went.
get him, kid.
Off they went. The sun eventually went down, which is the necessary thing to have happen, so that the lights can come up, and they got to say a prayer first. So,
oh my God! Well, the first thing right before it started, I had this kind of moment of there was electricity in the air. I'm like, this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Like, we're outside, people are with their families, we're about to watch a play. I'm like, this is kind of fun. Why are they getting rid of this?
Yeah.
And then, spoiler alert, it was terrible.
So these guys, a pre-recorded.
Well, look, if Mormonism got rid of everything. If Mormonism got rid of everything terrible, there'd be no Mormonism left.
Exactly.
So
there's hope for the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So a voiceover comes up over the thing, a pre-recorded thing that says, "Please welcome the president of the Manti Stake," which is like just a dude who has a calling, and
he's like a rural archbishop in Utah. Yeah,
he gets up and with another guy, two men in you can't imagine how ill-fitting the suits are that these men are wearing.
We're 200 yards away, and we're like, wow, those suits aren't fitting very well.
Yeah, well, and we had binoculars, so I'm like zooming in, and it looked like a little kid wearing his older brother's suit.
Totally.
It was ridiculous. And then they say a couple words and say a prayer, and then I'm geared up. I'm like, okay, this is ready to go. And then please rise for the national anthem. And a lady and a girl in a very bad prom dress does a fine rendition of the national anthem.
And just so everybody understands, everything that happens going forward is pre-recorded, and this thing is dubbed over. So no one's mic'd up. They're just kind of trying to match their own voices on the recording.
Yeah, from this point forward, it is. Oh
wait,
all
the stake president or whatever he was pre-recorded.
I think
too?
that was the one thing that wasn't, and
No.
I'm pretty sure the anthem was, but we couldn't tell.
We disagree on the anthem, but everything else. Okay, now that we've gotten those out of the way, we're launching in. It's all pre-recorded, and the lights go down, and they come up, and suddenly the temple's blue, and then it's purple, and then we're hearing all of this stuff about. In 1832, and it's their best, the guy in town who had the best voice, and maybe even these the narrators may even have gone as far as to like find the best voice in Provo to do the narration. Starts telling us the story of Joseph Smith,
and so what follows is, and we can talk about some of the highlights, is it's kind of an interwoven story of Joseph Smith getting the golden plates, translating them into the Book of Mormon, some of the Book of Mormon stories woven into there, and other Mormon church history things. You're kind of bouncing around. It's kind of
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It is, first of all, the writing, yes. If you're looking for a well-spun narrative, keep looking.
Yeah.
Move along.
Is it like a Christopher Nolan, like the kind of a very complex timeline? Is it that kind of thing where you're never sure where you are?
No.
It's like watching a Christopher Nolan movie if somebody was holding your head in a sink because you owed them money.
But it's also like a Christopher Nolan movie in which Christopher Nolan keeps insisting on saying, now jump 5 more years into the future. Rather than showing us, they make sure to tell us all of the things.
But the Moroni was hilarious. So Joseph is trying to... Joseph, by the way, was played by like 5 different actors, one of whom was so Ichabod Crane.
The first one. Oh my God, he was the derpiest little... He must have been some general authority's nephew or something, because this kid, no one would put him in front of human beings as an actor. All these people can do is use their bodies, right? Because we don't hear their voices. This kid is walking around like Planet of the Apes. His arms are just dangling by his side as he sort of tromps up the hill and then back down the hill. Yeah. It was the funniest
Very heroic figure. Very heroic figure.
Right. And this is the guy playing their most important person.
Yep.
It was delightful.
And yet, like Dan said, if there's more than one person in the spotlight or being lit up, the only way you can tell which one of them is supposed to be talking is through their wild gesticulations.
Yes, indeed.
Gesticulations. It's like it's like semaphore code. I've seen the video of it, and they just do these flailing, their arms flailing all over the place.
You are 100% not acting if any of your limbs are not moving at the same time.
Right.
And after Joseph gets the plates, we go to a Book of Mormon story, which was one I barely knew about. It was the battle between Captain Moroni and the Lamanite leader Zarahemna.
Now, I have to state before you do this that we had met the angel Moroni who had come to Joseph Smith to deliver the plates unto him.
Yeah.
And then they had to say, so when they cut to the ancient Americas where this battle is happening.
And now a different Moroni.
Yeah, they had to differentiate. They were they chose a story that has the same name, but it's a different guy. So they're like, and then Moroni came to him, but not that Moroni.
Oh,
don't get it
There's
twisted.
two different guys. There's two different Moroni characters
yes,
in the Book of
and
Mormon?
we've talked about this. One of them was the
I had
one.
no idea.
What was the one at the end? The one that's on top of all the Mormon temples. The other one was that guy who lifted up that title or banner of liberty.
Yeah,
that has the writing on it.
Yeah,
remember that? I think we covered this.
I don't know if we covered that.
No, anyway, it's all very stupid. But I just thought it was very funny that they wrote. Look, guys, this is your play. You don't have to use the story that would confuse everybody.
Right.
You can use a different story and then not have to use the same name twice. But no, they didn't know about that.
And then the Lamanites and Nephites battle. And that is the most generous usage of that term.
they literally 36 men run onto the men. 36 teenagers and 4 old guys run onto the hill, and then all just play sword fighting like we all did when we were trying to be Luke Skywalker and we were 6 in a circle.
Yeah. And so badly, if someone ran up to me and Dan right now and just gave us 2 plastic swords and said, fight, that's what it would look like.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw video of this moment, because I remember clearly watching it, everyone in the scene was probably under 12, including Moroni. And it was children. Yeah. There were boys running around like clappity, clack, clack. It was so bizarre.
What we should mention is that Manti, as a town, does not have the manpower to support this thing.
No.
What happens is a bunch of people from all over the state of Utah make this their family vacation for the year.
Yeah.
And they force their entire family to climb into the minivan, and they drive down, and they all bring their own, they bring whatever costume pieces they can. And it ends up being the dumbest thing you've ever seen in your life.
They're from all over the place. Our older brother does this with his kids in Nauvoo. They go to Nauvoo every year, and put on corduroy pantaloons and
a lot of these actors are only there for maybe 4 or 5 days before performance.
And they only do an hour and a half of rehearsal per day.
And boy, does it show.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
why don't they do more?
I don't know.
Because they can't ask these people to come from all over the state and not and actually spend the right amount of time to rehearse a thing.
Well, I think you're wrong, because Mormonism asks people to do much, much greater things for free.
That's a fair point.
Right, all the time.
That's
so
true.
I can't believe they wouldn't just make them suffer through 12 hours of rehearsal. But hey, it's their show.
But why do that when they can do a piss poor job of it and waste less of their own time?
I do want to mention that there are some scenes where we're supposed to be watching the Lamanites, who are evil because they're brown, and the also some evil Nephites. They demonstrate their evil by the most milquetoast,
twerking,
lascivious dancing you can possibly imagine.
Sensual dance in the form of something that anyone on the planet would just go, oh, cute.
Yeah, kind of a high kick. Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of them used her hips a little bit one time.
I noticed that through my binoculars.
Anyway,
perv. Binoculars.
So anyway, Jesus comes, which is fantastic because he descends from way up high.
Oh, and it's it's great. They have some cleverness. That, he's lowered down by a crane, which you can very clearly see behind him. But they do so once he sort of lands in place, smoke comes up behind him, which is what masks the stagehands that are releasing him from the thing.
Off, yeah.
And then he walks down among the people, and then he walks back up, and they didn't get the smoke quite right the second time, so we could definitely see the stagehands rehooking him back into
clip.
his
And then
thing.
does he just stay up there the rest of the play in the dark?
No,
does the guy just hang up there?
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
No, because what they do is they
He gets a great view of the show.
Yeah, right. They spotlight different areas of this hill. So when you're looking way over here to the left, they lower him down and unhook him and take
change
him
the set a little bit. Not a lot.
Not a lot.
But a little bit. They brought out a volcano at one point. That when they were
nice.
When they were showing us the evil Lamanites, they had a volcano. Now the one thing we were spared is they did, I think, probably they haven't always been this wise, but they did avoid blackface or brownface. They did not avoid racist costuming because the Lamanites are meant to be the precursors to the modern American Indian tribes. So I think that's recent, the blackface or brownface thing, because when I was trying to get Eli Bosnick to bring the guys out to see it as part of, to do a god-awful movies about the god-awful plays about the Manti Pageant, I found pictures from like the year before from the Deseret News where they were very much in brownface.
Oh, no, yeah.
Completely smeared. And this was like 2 years ago.
They moved away from it.
So they've caught on just in time. They were the most timely. If there's one thing we can say about the Mormon Church, it's that they are woke and hip.
always ahead of the curve on all things racial.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That was, we were spared that, but they were in the worst fake Native American garb with like wigs that had mohawks on them and that sort of thing. It was.
You could just hear the costume designer screaming, "I need more feathers!"
Right? Yeah, we didn't hear any woo either, so that was so they did a good job eliminating some of the most egregious.
But
credit where credit's due,
right?
I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was the narrative was very weird. It didn't have you have a lot of source material from which you could draw, pull a story out that kind of has three parts and builds to an ending.
Yeah.
This didn't have that. It ended very weirdly with Brigham Young's decision to send the Mormon militia to the Mexico War.
Oh my God. Let me tell you something. Brigham Young is bringing the Mormons across the plains to Utah. And then, you've got a couple hundred people in representing these wagon trains of people going across the plains. And then 4 guys in military uniforms trump all the way across the stage, which takes 4 fucking ever, while the soundtrack has a little fife and a little drum. And these 4 preteen boys represent the U.S. Army conscripting 5,000 Mormon men or whatever for the
which we don't see. We don't see the march. We don't see any of it. We just see Brigham Young make the decision.
And Brigham Young.
Isn't this when Brigham Young was sending them to the Civil War? Wasn't it in Texas?
No, it was
and they slow walk. He said walk slow.
Yes, exactly. It was the Mexican American
War.
And they did. Okay. They never fired a shot. They got there and the war was over.
Right, because they were ordered to go slowly.
Yeah.
But also,
there's a huge monument on the Capitol grounds to them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the thing that they never did.
So great. There's also one of the things that I thought was delightful is that Brigham Young, after being asked to send all these men, sort of walks 8 feet away and kneels down in prayer, and that's when we get first, Mormon, or maybe it was Moroni saying a quote from the Book of Mormon, and another guy, and then Joseph Smith caps it all off by saying to inspiring Brigham Young with, first of all, the article of faith that says that we believe in being subject to kings, rulers, magistrates, presidents, whatever.
Right.
And then saying something about how this land is choice among all lands and will always be, and blah, 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 to the man who is literally taking all of his followers and fleeing that land as they spoke.
Yeah.
Like in that moment, they are running away to Mexico in that moment. And yet that is the compelling argument.
That's the boom, boom ending.
Yeah, the mystical Joseph
Smith. Of the whole play?
Yeah. And it thankfully just ends there. And I got to say, the applause in the wake of it, it's like a 4-year-old did a successful somersault. That's how like the level of applause.
It was golf claps.
It was scattered. It lasted just a couple seconds. It's like, oh,
for the whole play?
For the whole play.
Well, the claps. Okay, so in fairness to the audience, the claps lasted long enough to determine, they're not coming out for a curtain call because that would take a year and a half. And as soon as they realized that there wasn't going to be a curtain call,
time to go.
And by the way, as soon as they realized it was time to clap, about a third of them stood up to leave.
Exactly.
Because they were trying to beat the traffic. And then...
Yeah, that's a very Mormon thing. It's just leave 5 minutes before the end of the play.
Right, yeah, exactly. And then the clapping lasted, that 15 seconds.
Oh, it was terrible.
Oh, my God. For all that effort? It was a garbage play, but at least you want to recognize people's effort.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, and it was worse than I expected. I honestly it was.
And that wraps up Mormonism neatly. It was worse than I expected.
It was long and it was boring and it was worse than I expected, but the food was bad.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
At least the company was awful. So I'm not talking about Uncle Doug. I'm talking about every human. I'm talking about the shitty little kid behind me who kept kicking me. And and so Mormon families are the worst. So
kill them.
Yeah.
Wow, guys, that sounds like a really amazing evening at the theater.
We did it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance to definitely avoid seeing one of these pageants, but if you get a chance to see a clip of it online or something, maybe we'll find a link that we can post in the show notes.
It's worth 2 minutes of your time, and that's it.
It's pretty. It's just a sad state of affairs that all of these hapless rubes are literally putting on their mom's bathrobe so that they can bear their testimony about how true all of the nonsense that they're about to present is.
Well, you know what? We were talking at the beginning, and we don't know why the current and very short-term president of the Mormon Church, Russell M. Nelson, has done away with all these things.
He could live to 120. You don't know.
He sure could. Mormonism is not fun. And in kind of a serious note, I was a queer kid who was hiding out in Mormonism. These pageants were probably kind of a safe space in a weird way for those kids. And like any theater class, club at school is kind of a safe space generally. And so it's just one less place for the nonconformist, secretly hiding something kids to be able to live their truth, live out loud a little bit for a moment. So good job, Mormons.
Not anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's probably why they did it. If I found out there was some queer Bob in the costume department.
It could well be. I will say some of those actors seemed overly eager to dip into mom's makeup.
That's true.
For sure. But that's what I'm saying, that there's this tiny bit of freedom and expression that comes in those moments.
Yeah.
And, that can mean a lot to those kids until they can get the fuck out of there. And
well, if there's one thing Mormonism stands for, it's don't have freedom and expression. So that's
exactly right.
So this there you go. The passing.
How many stars, guys? How many stars?
How many can you give a black hole as a rating?
A neutrino, a neutron star.
There you go. The passing of a legend, the Manti Pageant. Let's move on.
Let's move on.